we created our own custom list. So the next step is we're going to put an image here, okay? And there are several ways to do this. You can get the image from the internet, from wherever you want, but it's basically an extension of what we're doing. I'm going to get the images. I got some images from the internet. I saved them in my hard drive. I'm going to get images from my hard drive. So the first step to do this is to actually get the images onto your drawable folder. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to right-click here, and then get this item reveal in Finder. If you're working from a PC, it might say reveal in a file explorer or something like that. So excuse me, I'm going to reveal this in Finder, and the images are going to appear in my Finder. That's the folder where I need to move the images. So I'm going to move this over here. This is a folder where I do have the images, right? So I'm just going to copy all these images from here, and I'm going to put this in this folder. Alright, so now the images are there. Everything should be fine. Make sure that your names only contain lowercase letters. Okay, no uppercase letters can go in here. Alright, so that's good, they're there, and you can see that in a second my drawable folder, it's actually going to update. There it is. And here are the images. So let's modify a few things. First, the recipe item here. The recipe item now needs to include an image. Okay, so I'm going to go here and select an image view, and the image view will go here. Okay, now I'm going to go to the XML and see a couple of things. The image, I'm not going to have the full width because these images that I'm going to import are fairly big. So I'm just going to have this be, 50 dp. That's a unit of measure in Android by 50 dp. That's all they're going to be. Okay. Now, mind you, this cell is going to look horrible. You can fix what layout and how you sort these items. Right now I'm using a linear layout. I probably should be using a relative layout, which allows me to place items however I want. But right now I'm using a linear layout, and this thing's going to look horrible, right? It's going to have my large text aligned to the right, the small text aligned to the right, and underneath that, an image aligned in the center. So bear with me. I know it's ugly, but this is what each cell is going to look like. So I have the look and feel of the cells the way I want it. Now, what I need now is my data source to be able to reference these images, right? So for the data source, I'm also going to create an int array called images. Okay. Now I'm not going to pass it in the constructor. I'm just going to have it pre-made for me. How's that? Okay. Or yeah, maybe I'll pass it in the constructor. So now my constructor is going to increase a little bit. Now it's going to receive also an int array called images. Why is it an int array? What I'm going to do is I'm going to give references to the images that I store in drawable. And those references are ID numbers. They're ints. So I'm going to give those references. And then, of course, I need another method here, which is public int get image resource at, and then give it the position, and this should return images at position. So now I can get the images, the descriptions, the titles, and I can put an array of integers which are references to images. Great, my data source is done, completed. Now my adapter is the other thing. Assuming I have image data sources. Now in my layout, I also have an image view, right? I'm going to call it IV, and that's going to be an image view cell find view by ID .id image view. I didn't give it a different name. Sorry, you probably want to name this like recipe image or something like that. But I just left it at image view at the default. And then this image view, IV, I'm going to say set image resource, And the resource for the image, the reference, the integer reference, is going to come from my data source, get image resource at position I. Okay, and then I'll return the cell. This is all great. Now, the only thing that is left here in my activity is to create a little array of image resources corresponding to each one of the images here. So I'm going to create it here, int images, and that's going to be the resources. So for the first image, for the goulash, notice that I have a goulash.jpg, right? The JPEG. So I'm going to say r.drawable, because these are under the drawable folder here, r.drawable dot, and look here, goulash appears there. The next image is going to be r.drawable dot lemon chicken, because that's the second element there. And the third one is going to be r.drawable dot Italian sausage. And when I create my recipe adapter, remember I added a new parameter to the constructor. It is the context, for the recipe data source. I added a new parameter to the constructors, the titles, the descriptions, and now the images, right? So the images. One thing before we run this application, though, I forgot to mention one thing. In the data source, we added this new images array in the constructor, but I need to assign it to the actual array. So images, and I'm going to call this guy I for simplicity. Okay, so I need to assign it to the images array, so then it's not, so then the methods work. So now we go to our activity and we simply run the app. And here is our table with really ugly looking cells, but this is the images and the cells, and each cell, when clicked, will actually display a little message, right? So cook the chicken, so the recipe, everything works, and now we have images and stuff. It's up to you to organize this so it looks nice, but now you know how to build lists with custom cells that do custom actions when you click them.